Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our live webinar. Uh, the title is Life as a Global Talent Visa Recipient, and this is like the part two of it. We had the part one a few months ago. So this evening we are looking at identifying opportunities in a new country, and with us we have a couple of speakers and just a little bit of uh, an introduction for them. We have Dr. Marilyn, who is a seasoned AI researcher and an architect uh, with over 8 years of experience, about a decade of experience in the tech sector, and she is like a recipient of the Global Talent Visa of the United Kingdom and also Australia. So that's a very comprehensive one from from there. So, and also we have Miracle, who is the co-founder of Trontian and Scholarly, and he had a background in petroleum and environmental engineering, and currently is also into the is in the tech industry, and also and also he mentors and he mentors like people who are trying to like break into the tech industry. So those are the couple of speakers that we have this evening. Well, I'll give the floor to Marilyn to introduce herself comprehensively. Hello, Marilyn, are you there?
Yeah, just I was going to say just give me a moment, 1 moment. Be right back.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you so much for the intro. Right. Hi everyone. My name is Marilyn Amizu, and like he rightly said, yeah, I'm a recipient of the Global Talents visa for UK and Australia. So I've been in the tech field for a number of years, and I specialize in AI, machine learning, and data. So I like my current occupation now is as a data and AI architect, and also do research in AI. Yeah, so I'm really passionate about mentoring and coaching people. So just helping people harness opportunities in tech and beyond, and in the educational space as well. Really nice to meet everyone.
All right, yes, that's a great one. Having the global talent visa of both Australia and the UK, it's probably one of uh the greatest like feats uh anyone in the professional anyone who is from any profession actually can actually have, you know. So our target audience is those who are interested in the global talent visa, and also the global talent visa recipients who just like move to a new country, and also uh, maybe global talent visa recipient also who have like moved into the new country and are looking for opportunities for growth. They want something like a little bit of like light on their path towards growth in their new country. So this evening we'll be looking at learning about different types of opportunities for growth available to global talent visa recipients in a new country, and also participants would also learn how to identify and evaluate these opportunities and actually maximize them also. And participants would also develop a plan, like a plan for pursuing these opportunities in the new country. You know, having to get to a new country and blend in and find opportunities and growth is can be a very tasky thing, can be depressing at times. So it's like a shedding a light on how to actually maximize opportunities in this new country and having no issues. So, uh, by way of introduction, to I would like to uh, let the viewers actually understand what the global talent visa actually entails. So, what is the global talent visa? I would like Marilyn can actually come in here and explain what the global talent visa is for us.
Yeah, the global talent visa is first of all a global talent. The whole idea, the whole concept is that you have certain governments that that want to attract the best and brightest into their country. And when you say best and brightest, I know that can put some persons off because they're like, oh, I don't think I'm the best. I don't think I'm the brightest in my field. It's really just the concept around maybe people who have some exceptional abilities or extraordinary talents in a particular field or sector. So the sector is really dependent on the country itself. Some countries they have some priority sectors. So, for example, Australia defined their priority sectors. You have like 10 priority sectors, and tech is one of them. And same with the UK, they have the priority disciplines or sectors, and same for other countries as well that offer some kind of a global talent visa scheme. And depends as well. Some countries may call it global talent, some may not call it, but the whole concept is that these countries they have a scheme, a visa or migration scheme that attracts the best and brightest in that particular field of interest. So attract people who have they're highly skilled or they're highly talented or they have some achievements in those sectors. So that's the concept, and it can be a put off for some persons. I've had some persons come to me and they ask, do I qualify? Just hearing global talents, it's sort of scary, but it's actually not that difficult, at least from my own personal experience and helping other people. What we try to do as well is to identify what's the unique thing about this particular candidate and project them in that best possible light.
All right, so that's a very comprehensive one there. Uh, just to like have a little bit of more in-depth understanding about what the global talent visa really entails, can we know like what are the benefits? Like what benefits does it actually accrue to those who are recipients of this global talent visa? Like there are other kinds of visa everywhere. So how does this make how unique is the global talent visa, and how is it different from other ones, and what makes it like a little bit better? Is it better, or and what actually makes it better than all other kinds of, visas?
Yeah, I would mention two really outstanding benefits, and one of them, people that come abroad, maybe on some other kinds of visa. Let's say you have skilled worker visa or some kind of working visa. Those sort of visas have some restrictions, or maybe the may be sponsored by an employer. So that employer might because their visa is tied to that employer, they are going to be tied to that particular role or job or that employer for the entire period until maybe they get their permanent residency. So the way the visa scheme works, or visa system, you might be on a visa where you are sponsored by an employer. So those, they might call it, depending on the country, skilled worker or some temporary visa or some kind of, they give it a name. But the whole idea is that you get into the country because you're sponsored, or you remain in the country because you're being sponsored by a certain employer. Now that becomes your, would I say, the for as long as you are being sponsored, you're still going to be on that visa. So the moment your employer says, I'm not sponsoring you again, or you get laid off for one reason or the other. So sometimes it's because of the economy. You just get laid off from your job. It means that your visa is going to be curtailed, at least from the UK. That's how it works. And you would no longer be able to remain in that country. Maybe they are going to give you a certain period of time to stay in the country before you go back to your home country. So because of those restrictions, that is why some persons, they'll see the global talent visa as really a golden ticket, right? Because once you get the visa, you are not tied to any employer, you're not tied to any sponsor, right? So you're more like your own boss. You can decide to work, or you can change jobs, you can do business in that country, or you can be self-employed. You're not going to be tied to any employer. So that gives you that freedom, that flexibility to actually, like say, call your shots in that country. So that's one big benefit. Even for some persons, there are some persons who maybe they came all the way with their whole family, and their visa got curtailed because their sponsor, for some reason, maybe they were fired, or they had to leave the job, or something happened along the line and they lost that sponsorship. So imagine having to figure out the next steps for the entire family, maybe moving back to your home country or moving out of the country. So all of that, in fact, it gives, I would say, some persons wake up every day on those skilled worker kind of visa, those sponsored visas, really nervous, really worried about the next steps or about the future. So yeah, I would say that's one key benefit. Another benefit is that it's a path to permanent residency, or it can even be permanent residency. So I would explain. So some of the countries, once you get the visa, like Australia, you getting the visa is you getting permanent residency. That's for sure. I mean, some persons, when you say that, they are like, wow, like, is that so? Yes. So getting the global talent visa in some countries is getting permanent residency, and for some it's a pathway, like in the UK it's a pathway, so it puts you on the path to getting permanent residency within 3 years or 5 years. Yes, so that is those are the benefits, the key ones, and there's so many others, but let me just keep it at this.
All right, so that's a very good one. So just to kind of understand now, like what kind of opportunities are there, like to grow in one's field? What kind of opportunities are there in as a recipient of this global talent visa? So, for example, you can use yourself as an example to drive home the point. What kind of opportunities are available or were available when you actually got this global talent visa, maybe both in maybe UK or Australia or both? what kind of opportunities are there in those countries, what kind of field are those opportunities, and what are the like pros and cons of actually this global talent visa in terms of opportunities.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the mere fact that you have that flexibility, you have that freedom to actually choose your path is already an opportunity because you're not tied to an employer, you're not tied to certain immigration rules that curtail you or that sort of hinder you from exploring some opportunities. Like there's some visas you're going to be on, and you're just going to be doing one particular job. You can't really explore anything outside that field for a period of time, or you have restrictions on what else you can do, even as someone who is sponsored. So that on its own is an opportunity, and it gives you the leeway, the liberty to really go along. I mean, there's some persons who, for example, they're on a job and they actually want to move to another job, but when they think about the admin and issues around moving jobs on those visas, it hinders them. It just keeps them from exploring other things until a certain point when they're already permanent residents. So, I mean, for me as an example, it was very easy for me to really navigate the fact that I could actually um, call the shots and choose the kind of job I wanted without thinking of, oh, yes, would this company sponsor me or not? Because that on its own can restrict people. Companies that sponsor are fewer, and for you to actually get a job at your level of expertise, at the remuneration that you want, and with all the terms that are comfortable for you, it's much more difficult. Not that it's impossible to find that on maybe the other kinds of visas, but it's much more difficult and it's very, very competitive. So for example, in tech, there are so many rules out there, but finding the one that the company sponsors you, and you can get what you really want, the benefits you want, and you can progress in that career. Sometimes it's challenging. Yeah, so I'd say that on its own is an opportunity. You have that flexibility really to do what you actually love to do.
All right, so just to just by way of like understanding again, like what's what is the understanding you have about the job market and the industry trend in those countries that you actually have have been a recipient of? Like, what is the trend towards the job market? It might be in your field, it might be some fields that you have actually helped people actually to get the visa in. Uh, what do you have? What understanding of it do you have over the past years?
Yeah, okay. So one when a country like the UK and Australia, when they highlight these countries have their strategy. They have some of them have innovation strategies, some of them have some. If you look at their strategy document, you would see some of the things that they highlight in those documents, as some of them have like maybe Vision 2030, and they have a plan, and they already identified the sectors or the areas where they need talent, maybe because you don't have enough persons or because they're on a path to expanding in that area or expanding the economy, and they really want the skills, the talent to help them go in that direction. So you see them identifying the skills, the talents, or they actually are deliberate about bringing people in order to help them achieve their vision. So, and you see that typically when they then plan, because these visa schemes, they don't come out of the blues, they come out of rigorous planning. They've seen that yes, for us to get here, for us to get the economy to this point in certain number of years, we actually need these skills. And when you see them also prioritizing certain sectors, it's from that basis of what they've identified as maybe that's why you hear things like shortage occupation lists. Why? Because they want people. The the supply is very, very low, the demand is high in those sectors. So if you a tip there would be look at those priority sectors they identify. So for example, for the UK and Australia, you'd see tech, right? In both UK and Australia, those are they endorse in tech. So if you dig deeper, you begin to see more and more of the reason for that. You'd see that there are, because tech is, when you say tech, tech is very broad, but you really need skills, you need talent across the length and breadth of tech, whether it's technical or business skills that that candidate is aligned to. So you would need to identify where you fit in. There is also, you would see the health sector, you'd see it's, I can't really list everything out. You go check it out, whether for Australia or the UK, but that's a pointer to what the job market looks like. When you're applying as well, the likes of Australia would ask you why. They want to know what you're going to be contributing. They want to know if you are you have a high potential to, they don't want you to come into the country and you have nothing to do because there's no opportunity. So you would be doing your research as part of that whole application process to identify the demand, right? Like when I did mine, I had to identify what's the demand for people with my sort of skills, and you're going to see jobs. You'd find jobs also with a high, because that's their requirement as well, whether you have a potential to actually be a high earner in that country. So that's to tell you there. And part of that is looking at job sites. You go, when you go on job sites, when you go on some of the job statistics and do some of your research, you would actually see that these jobs are, one, they are in the they are available, and secondly, they also have potential for high remuneration.
All right, so
Yeah.
also a very comprehensive one. Now, quickly, just uh, how does networking and meeting people in your field, how does it help to get your foot on the ground in this new country? How does the situation about networking and meeting people help as far as like starting up in a new country?
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. It's very, very important to network, right? You must have a community, because going to a new country, even making that decision to take that bold step to go into a new country, leaving your comfort zone, living where you're used to and where your family already used to, is a big move. So you need all the support you can get. So support networks and even career network, they're really important to get you, get your feet on the ground for that particular environment. So, and it's something, for example, in the UK, you have right from the time you're getting the visa, there are communities that, maybe alumni community for that particular visa scheme, that you already be added to, and you have people that you can easily reach out to and get more information from them or understand the job markets a lot better, or they can just show you the way around, like, so when you, for example, in the UK, Australia, or if it's in the US, you're going to see similarities, you're going to also see variations, or we are coming from one other continent to the other, you definitely see have culture shocks. You're going to see things that are new to you. But in the global world today, you already have like networking platforms like LinkedIn, for example. Many of the contacts I made, they were, I started from LinkedIn. So people that I didn't know from that point, I got to connect, and you might be in the same profession or they might be in your location. So one tip there as well is that on LinkedIn you can actually search for people by their location. So if you want to find people who are in Australia, you can find people by their location, and maybe they can be aligned to your field, and you can start off a conversation from there, right? And you would, by the time you try to search and communicate, you're going to definitely see, or you tend to see one or at least two persons or more that can engage you, and they can point you in the right direction. So networking is very important, and there would be, at that starting point, you'd have those communities. Maybe they can add you to some groups. You have maybe groups on Slack or groups on LinkedIn, and you would have people there that are alumni of that or recipients of that particular visa scheme. So that's a good starting point, and then you can build from there. Okay, while we wait for the moderator. Yes, so it's really important. In fact, the saying, your network is your net worth. Yeah, that comes very, very handy. That's very important before your application and even post application. And this session is not really, yeah, we tagged it life as a global talent recipient, but also for persons who are yet to make that decision. Is this visa pathway, this migration pathway, right for me? What does it entail? This is also a good information for you. So this is not just for people who have become recipients, but also people who are considering this visa pathway as an option, right? Because when you understand, and you start from understanding, why should I even apply for this? Is it the right fit for me? You understand the benefits. Maybe you can compare that to other schemes. Sometimes people would have plan A, B, C, like in my case, I had plan A, B, C, maybe D, and you'd have to prioritize them depending on several factors that you lay on the table. So, in that consideration, you're also thinking about the benefits. What are the potential benefits of this migration pathway, and what are the, like he said, pros and cons. So what are the benefits, what are the limitations, right? So maybe if you're considering the pros and cons here, I think I've talked a lot about the pros, and you might be wondering, what are the possible cons? What are the Is there anything negative about this visa? For me, I can't really think about any strong negative. But I know one of the things that might be challenging for persons is actually to I just carried on talking while waiting for you to join back. Yeah. But one of the potential negatives or cons, depends on how you look at it, is that the fact that, yeah, for some persons you're getting started in a new environment. So that whole consideration of moving your family, because the good thing about this visa is you don't actually need to be in that country to apply. Well, that might be true as well for certain other kinds of visa. For example, the work visa, you don't necessarily need to be in the country. I just recently spoke to a friend that migrated to one of the European countries, and she, unlike many other persons who maybe go through the part of study, she just got the job and migrated all the way to the country, and it was really amazing. So yeah, you don't need to be in the country to apply for many of the visa types, but sometimes your chances are boosted when you're actually in the country for some other visas, right? Like, let's say the work one. Let's use the work visa as a typical example. But that's um for the global talent visa. In fact, it's not more beneficial for you to be in the country than being outside, right? So in fact, at some points, the Australian global talent visa, for example, they realized that a lot of people were onshore, which is, that's their term for onshore. That's, they were present in the country, and at some point, I think they had to shift their preference towards, or in terms of priority, they shifted towards prioritizing the offshore applicants more than the onshore. Why? Because they know that the onshore persons have a lot of options for them to eventually get permanent residency. So it's almost like they were dominating the visa scheme, and the whole goal was to be able to attract the best and brightest from all over the world, right? But it was being dominated by people who were already in the country. So they felt the goal was being defeated, right? So, and that is that's to show you that if you are outside the country, you don't feel that you are going to be more disadvantaged if you are outside the country, because they actually, this global talent visa scheme, they are looking to attract more persons, more talents into the country. So wherever you are, from whichever part of the world you are, you're good to go. Really, you are, whether you are in the country or outside the country, you're applying um to, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your chances if you're not within the country. Yep. That's just what I wanted to add. So in terms of the con, that's the fact that people might feel they are moving to a new environment, is why I think the question around the um networking, it's very important. So when you network with people, really you can begin to build that friendship, the support system, and that makes it more comfortable for you to settle in and navigate when you eventually move in. And that networking doesn't need to start when you have moved into that country. It can actually commence right from, even when you are considering applying, right? By then, you're speaking to maybe people who are recipients, asking them questions, connecting with them, you're finding out information, you're connecting with your network, some of them already in the country. So yeah, networking is just really a big part of this whole process, from the point you're thinking about it to the point where you've gotten it and you're settling in, and even right to the point where you're then helping others, like I'm doing right now. I connect to a lot of persons, and the mutual interest there is that these persons want to migrate through this visa scheme. So it's really a big part of it. Yeah, we have a community around this whole migration scheme. So it's really, really, really amazing. Is that moderator back, or think he's having connection issues?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Working, and then I had a little bit of network issue from here. So just to cap it off now, uh how does having like a specific plan, like a good plan on ground, how does it help in actually um making one stable in the new environment? So how does having the plan like actually to to actually look into and look stabilizing you when you got this visa?
Yeah. So the planning, and then I'm speaking for two kinds of audience as well. I'm speaking for those who are considering um the application. So pre global talents, if I could put it that way. So, and post global talent, or before you get the global talent visa and after you've gotten it. So I'm speaking from those two angles. So whether you're still trying to make up your mind or you're actually in the process of the application, these are things, like these are concerns you're going to have. I mean, there are persons who are even concerned about what is the system like, would it be like, um on so many fronts. There are so many questions that are going to come to mind. You might be considering, okay, what would the environment be like for my family, and so on. So all of those questions that you have, they're all valid. So I would I would say, I mean, from my own experience, put down all those questions, anything that comes to mind, questions that will come to your mind. Whether about the job market, whether about schools over there, whether about how to sort out bills, finances, tax, everything that comes to mind. Just keep putting all those questions down, because it's going to be important for you down the line to have answers to those questions, so that you don't move in ignorance. Because one of the things that's going to help you really quickly is that knowledge. Some persons have made mistakes, some persons have lost a lot of money because they were really ignorant of the system. And every of these countries have their own system. So don't assume. That's one of the things. Even in the application, don't assume that, okay, I know how UK works, so Australia is going to be the walk in the park, because they've all got their unique system. So the planning all starts from even the point you're considering navigating down to when you've moved, and you just keep planning is a big part of the entire process. So it's very helpful, like having those questions answered, asking those questions. Like I said, there are forums. For example, on the UK side, you have we have forums where people ask questions. You have communities where people can ask questions, and same goes for the Australian one. You have platforms people can ask questions, and it can help them in planning. So it's important whether at the point where you're, for example, for myself, when I was preparing my application, I had to, because it's not something you just, if you can turn it in within a week, wow, you're amazing, you're a genius. But it's a thorough process to put the application together. So that's also going to teach you that planning is important. Planning, when do I want to submit? Once I get this, when do I need to move? Because everything is time framed, right? So if you get it, then you're going to have a time frame to move to that country. You're going to have a time frame to meet certain obligations. So make sure that all those time frames, you know them, so you don't run into any problems. So time to get make your first entry into the country, time to get certain documentation. So really everything that is necessary, and even time to, for example, in the UK, because it's a part to permanent residency, you're going to have a time frame as well. Think you keep planning to the point to get your permanent residency, right? Because even up to now, people are asking questions around what sort of documents do I need to extend, because some persons need to extend, maybe because they didn't meet their um certain obligations for continuous residence. So they have to extend for themselves or even their dependents. So those are the sort of questions people ask. What documents do I need to extend? What documents do I need to apply for my permanent residence? Now, if you didn't plan and you didn't put all those things into consideration, maybe 3 years, 5 years down the line, you wouldn't have the right documentation to actually progress to the next milestone. And that's going to be a blocker. So those are the sort of things you want to avoid from the start. So ask those questions. Also read so much about what people ask about. Like now, I know, okay, I might not be there at that point where some other persons are in terms of milestone, but I tend to just pick and trap those questions, so that when I get to that stage, I can easily refer back to, okay, I saw this thing somewhere, and it will be easier for me to navigate at that stage. Yep. Okay, while we waiting for him to come back.
All
Okay, I
right.
think he's connecting back. All right, yeah. Yeah, I'm done. Are you Still having
Oh,
connection issues.
can you hear me? Can you pick what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It was breaking up a bit.
Oh, see. All right. I don't know if you can pick me now.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Wow. All right. So, just like a be your advice, maybe just 30 seconds or 1 minute, your advice for someone who is trying to get the global talent visa, what would you tell the person not to do? Like, what you would tell the person not to actually engage in or do, maybe during the process or after? Like, what are the things that you think after passing through this process, you feel these are the things that can be like an error for you while you're doing the process, or maybe after you have completed the process, gotten the visa, and you're in the new country? What would be the thing that you tell them not to do?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, okay, let me start from, maybe I don't know if this advice is going to fit on both sides, but let me start from persons who are thinking about applying at the point, maybe decision points or in the process. I'd say don't over don't overthink this visa. So don't, because people get scared of global talents, that whole phrase global talents or best and brightest talent. So don't try to talk yourself out of it, or don't act in fear. Don't approach it from that place of negativity and pessimism. So don't be pessimistic about it, or approach it from, I know that you might have doubts, but I've seen persons who, actually in my own case as well, I was thinking, in fact, if I had continued the way I was going about it, it would probably take me another 1 year to get into it, right? So, but at some point, because as you keep gathering your evidence, as you keep preparing, it's almost like, okay, I need to wait for this next thing. I have to. In fact, this was the best evidence, and I have to wait another 6 months to get it right. So there might not be like that 100% perfect application, right? And face the facts. You might not be a Nobel Prize winner. In fact, there are very, very few Nobel Prize winners. So, but the application is not only for Nobel Prize winners, right? It's not only for the unicorn founders. So even just like the ordinary person that's actually been doing good work and making impacts in their field, their sector, in the lives of persons, can actually fit into the mold. So don't um talk yourself out of it and try to limit yourself in the process, and really don't sell yourself short as well. This is not a beggarly application where you're not trying to plead with them to give you the visa. You're coming from the angle of, I've been doing this work and I'm an expert in this field. I I'm coming to the country to add benefits to the country. I've achieved a lot, quite a lot, in my location, in my country, or wherever I'm based, and I want to actually contribute and make more impacts. So that's where you're coming from. And as well, when you come into the country, there are going to be lots of opportunities there, but you also need to don't also take yourself out of the picture and feel limited, because the fact that you're brought in there means that you have something to offer in that environment. So try to really harness all the opportunities you can actually find. And that's why networking is important, right? Getting your hands on something you can start doing to contribute. It might actually be volunteering, actually be, for example, for myself, from the point I actually got the visa, I started to engage in those communities to support others, so to lift others up to the point they can actually benefit from the visa and get it like I did. So that's a good starting point as well, thinking of helping others. And from there, things start to build up. So just to summarize, you were brought in for a reason, or you're given this visa for a reason, or you applying because you have something. So just latch onto that strength you have, latch onto it and make it, really work for you. Tell your story in a unique way. You're unique. You're not going to be like any other applicant. Don't try to fit into any mold and try to, okay, maybe because she's this, then I have to package myself like her. No, your story is unique and you have to represent yourself in a unique way. And that uniqueness shines through even when you have gotten into the new environment. Just bring that uniqueness to the table, and of course learn the cultures and all the ways of the new environment you are in, and also try to bring your skills and talent to the table. Yep.
Kind of bring it to a close. And Marilyn, to actually guide and put us through the different ways by which we can identify these opportunities in as a global in a good one for speaking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks a lot for moderating the session.